So let's build a simple Node application using EGS Express application. So let's say user management. Yeah. Let's open it in VS Code. And then open our terminal. And then let's initialize npm with the y flag so that we can which will generate the package.json file which we have here. Alright, so let's also install the packages that we will need to help us build the application. So we need Express, we need EGS, we need Express EGS layout, we need Mongoose, we need bcrypt.js, we need JSON Web Token. Yeah. Then .env to manage our environment variables. Yeah, so these are the packages that we will need for now. Alright, that has been installed. So when you check our dependencies, we have the packages that we just installed here. Alright. Then let's also create these server.js file, which what will start the server for us. Let's say console.log. Let's say console.log server started here. And then let's come to our package.json to start our server. So you can use dev or whatever you want, and use node1 to watch changes in the server file when we start our server. So it asks node1 to watch the server file.js file. So we come back to our terminal and we do npm run dev, which then starts a server for us. Okay, so let's quickly create our environment var.env file, env file, which will have our environment variables that we will need. Let's say we need our port should be running on 5000. And then we also need Mongo URI, which will be the URI we'll need to use to link to connect to our database. So we can say local host. No, we need MongoDB /local host, and then we need a user management, which will be the database that we'll have to connect to. Okay, so first of all, let us bring in a .env file, .env package. Say .env, then .config. That's all we have to do at this point. So also bring in Express, and let's start up by saying Express, initializing our Express variable. Let's also listen at the port that we would want, and then also come in here and say also log listening on open that, then listening on our port. Okay, instead of doing this, let's assign this to a variable so that we can use it. So we say port in here, then say bring port in process, and v.port. So once we save that, that brings us to the port 5000 from our environment variable in here. Okay, so let us also then bring in some middlewares. We say app.use express.json, and then also app.use access.url encoded. Then we say extended, that should be true, and then we set our view engine to be EJS, then also set our layout to be in a layout folder. Then we say main. Okay, let's bring in the EJS layout. Express, let's restore it in a layout variable and say require express EJS layout. Then let's use the express layout like that. Okay, run into some errors. What errors is that? App use is not aware. Oh, made a mistake here. App.use. Let's check in here. Okay, everything is working now. All right. So we create our views folder, then layout, then we have our main EJS in here, then we do this. That will populate the content of the views that we will have in here. I'll quickly explain that later. So let's first create our first view, which will be index.ejs h1, and here then say hello world. Okay. All right. So let's then create our first route. Say app.get / bring a request and response variable. Then we render index file in here. All right. So let's open the browser. New window. Then we go to localhost port 5000. Render is not a function. Sorry. It's supposed to be rest.render. Okay, so we have our hello world in here. All right. Also, we have the public folder, which will store our assets that we'll need, which will be our CSS folder. Then we have the styles. Let's do body, background color to be blue, and then in our main.ejs, let us link our CSS file. We'll link, then we say CSS folder, look into the CSS folder, then styles.css. Okay, but we also have to set our static folder by saying app.use express static should be in the public folder. So when we refresh, we have a background blue. Okay, let us reset the browser. Let's do our margin to be 0. Margin to be 0, padding to be 0, box sizing to be 0. Normally I'll use normalize, but I don't have time for that. Anyway, so that being done, what I also would rather do is to split this into a controller, and then also have my routes folder so that we can have more control over our code. So let's say user routes.js const. Let's bring in our router from Express, then destructure then router in here. Okay, so say initialize the router as router, then let's export the router now. Let's export the router here. Then we do our router .get / should we do a controller? Okay, let's pass the request response variable and still render our index file as .render our index file. Alright, let's bring in our route in here, and then say user router equals to require that will be in the routes folder, user router, then we do app.use user router. That should work. So we take off this, save it, still works, refresh, it still works, but background color has disappeared. Yeah, okay, took off it from here. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back by saying body background color blue, refresh. Yeah, works. So everything works in here. Perfect. Let's close some of the files that we not need. Okay. So now let us also connect to our database by doing config and then creating a DB file. First of all, we need mongoose. Mongoose. Then we say mongoose.set strict query. Strict query, let's make it false. We this will prevent some of the errors that we will get when we don't properly query the database. So we create the connect function, which should be an async function, and then we say await. Well, let's put in the try catch, and then we say await mongoose.connect to the environment variable mongo underscore URI. When you connect, let's console.log database connected. Other than that, let's just console.log the error. So let's export the connect function, and then bring in the connect function in here, connect, and then let's connect to the database. We're saying connect to the database. Oh, oops. We have an error. Where is that? Cannot find model connect. Oh. Bring in by going to our config folder, then db. Yeah. So we are now connected to the database. Cool. All right. So then let us also create our modules, which will be our user model. Okay, let's do user.js. First of all, we need mongoose. Then we say const user schema equals to new mongoose schema. This will describe the database that we would want to use. So we say it should have a name, should be a type of string, required to be true, and then should have an email, also a type of string and required to as well, and then they should have a password of a type of string and required to be true, and then min length, as the minimum length of the password should be not be less than 5. With the email, let us make it unique as well, so that you can avoid having to register duplicate emails. Then initialize the timestamps to automatically generate the timestamps for us. Then export our user module, and say mongoose.model user, then we pass in the user schema. Pretty much simple. Okay, so back in the, we don't need the database file, we don't need our package JSON for now. So back in our routes, user routes, I'd like to split this code further into the controllers. So let's create a new file. So say user controller, yes. So let's say get home page, further request response, and then let's hit render. First you can set the status to 200, then we render our index file, then we export our home page. But let's put it in an object. So get home page file. Alright, so back in the user file, user route, let's bring in the user controller destructure, user route, and let's get home page, which we'll find that in the controllers folder, and then user controllers. So then all of this will go into the home page. Let's get home page. Alright. So when we refresh, we still have that. Let's try and change the something to see if everything is working properly. Let's put in some exclamation marks. Refresh, and it works. Alright. The next thing we'll need is to try and then create let's create the views for the heading and then the footer. So we come to the views folder, then I'll put it in the partials folder so that we can reuse it as and when we want, then instead of having to rewrite everything all over again. So it's header.ejs, and then let's put it on each one and say header file, and also footer.ejs, h1, no, h1, and footer. Alright, so in the layout folder, we can include it. I have this extension that I use, EJS language support. So we come out of that, come into the partials folder, then we have our header, refresh, then we have the header, same thing, and we come out partials footer, and let's refresh footer. Cool. Also, let us grab some fonts from Google Fonts. Google font, I want Poppins. Google font Poppins. Come down. Let's select which ones do I want. I want the 400, 300 is 300. I want the 400. Okay, I also want the 300 font size. And then I want the bigger font size. Let's go for 700, and then 800. Okay, so let's import that from here. And then go back into our CSS file. What is it? In our CSS file. And then let's paste that in here. Okay. Go back again, and then let's copy the CSS for it. Let's copy. Come back in here, aren't you? Sometimes you and then body, and then let's bring that in here. Save it. Come back to our document. Refresh. Yeah, enough on changes. Great. Let's remove some of the margin from it. I usually will do it to 8485 and P margin 0 and 0. Refresh. H1, H2, H4, margin 0, 5, 0. Okay. Alright. So now let's style the heading here. Then we do header.main header, and we have a tag which will go to the home page. Then each one, probably put our logo in here. Then have our nav. This will go to login. Then we'll say login. Then this will also go into register. Then we'll say register. Alright, then when we refresh it, we have that. Alright, let's do some general styling for let's say general styling. Then we have a container class which will have a width of 1200 pixel, max width of 90%, margin to bring it to the center, 0, auto. And then we put that in here, somewhere here. We do the container class, and paste this back, save it, refresh, then brings it to the center. Great. Alright. Alright, so back in the CSS folder, we say style the header, and then we say that's main container, we display flex, justify content space chain line items center, refresh, and we have that. In the general styling in here, let's do a text and say text decoration should be none, and that should be black. Refresh, and it takes out that. come in here, then we do name the container now. So sometimes I like SAS. Let's say display block as in left and right. Refresh. Oh, I mean display inline block. Display inline block and refresh, and we are done. Try to get this login, doesn't work. Okay, so let's create the login view. Come in here, index, then we do login. That's yes. Which one did we say login? And then let's also create the register. So which one? Register. And then come back and then create the route for the login and then the register. So that will be in our route folder. We say router get /login, passing our, let's say get login controller. That should give us some errors because we've not created a file yet, but let's bring it in and then create the file later. So we say get login controller and then come into the controllers file. Then we say login page. So const get login controller equals to request response, and then that should render our login page. So refresh. That didn't work. Oh, we need to export the login controller. We need to export that. Come back. Calls for 5,000. Yeah, that works. And then also get register page. So we do get register controller response, then the rest of render the register page, and then let's export the get register controller, and then we don't need a login for now. We don't need a register for now. We don't need a user controller index. We don't need a style sheet. No, domain. We don't need it. So that'll be in our route. So we say router gets register, then gets register controller. So that has been automatically imported here. So if we go /register, it didn't work. Let's check our header. Register, refresh. Localhost 5,000. Let's go to register. paste. Works. Alright. Let's have a general styling for something like a header into styling folder. Then general stylings, I'm gonna put it here. I'll say dot heading text align should be center font weights. I put 300. So coming back to the register, I don't need the partials for that. Login. Then in here plus then yeah, works. Where's that? Supposed to like that. Okay, let's add some text to the footer. So then we say footer p created by, let's put it in a bold, let's say Kofi in. But I would want it to link to my GitHub page. So now let's do a dash. Let's bring in Kofi in. And then target should be blank. So let me quickly open my GitHub account. Copy this. And paste that in here. Save. I don't need this view. Refresh. Okay. So when I click on that, I should open my GitHub page. Great. Cool. Let's style the footer a bit. Okay, so open the style CSS. Let's say that's down. Say footer. Text. That's the only thing I want to do for now. Just bring the text to the center. That's all. Great. That's it. Okay, so jump back into the login page, and then let's do form wrapper. Create the forms for that. We'll do our form. Let's say go to the user. Action should go to / user. Then method should be post. And then in our input, our input type text. Name should be name. And place folder equals to wanted name. I want another one. I want another one for email. I would say the name should be email. Then I want another one for password, and that should be password, and then the type is password. I would say enter password. Enter password. Then we have a button type of submit. And nothing. But this is the login page, so I'd rather would cut this and then put it in our register, and then say register instead. And then save. Yeah, come back in here. When we are logging in, we only need our email and the password, so we don't need the name. So save like that, and then refresh, which looks very ugly. Okay, so back in the styles.css, style the form. I say the form wrapper width is 540 pixel, max width 100%, margin 0, auto to bring it to the center. Then that form, let's target the input to display block. Width should be 100%, margin 0.5 RAM, margin bottom 0.5 RAM, margin length 0.4 RAM, top and down 0 RAM, text indent and 10 pixel. Save it, and let's see how it looks like. Cool. Let's put this in a container. I'll say that container in here. Save it, so that we don't have it coming to the edge of the browser, so it stays in the middle just a bit. So then same thing in here. Container. Then we paste it. Save it. And let's go to login. Refresh. Okay. As well, we also need to work on the button a bit. Say form wrapper button display block width 100% background color. Let's do black. Color should be white. And then I want 0.8 RAM. 0.8 RAM and then 0 RAM. Save it. Refresh. On the cursor to be pointed. Then the cursor pointer. And then put in some transition so that second. Then I say dot form wrapper button over on the background. Let's be black. White now. Flip it white and then let's be black. So when I come in here, then it shouldn't. So no. Yeah. Should we take out the border? I just sound like the ugly. Let's keep the border. Alright. So this keeps the form wrapper some margin button. Let's form bring it down so that we can create some space around here. Okay, so this is the login. I think we should give the main heading some breathing space. Main heading, margin, structure. Cool. So login, where's the name? Hello world. Let's change this to welcome. And then let's do index, which will be index. Let's click on this one. And then I say welcome. Works. Nice. Great. Okay, so in the first part of the tutorial here, then later we continue and we create the user and we do the login and then the register. All right.